Hello and welcome to this episode of the Print interview. We have with us Aga Ruhullah Mehdi, who's representing the Lok Sabha constituency of Srinagar. Well, in the backdrop of the Pahalgam terror attack, we saw, Mr. Mehdi, that there was a lot of criticism that came your way about this particular, phrase that was used by you regarding cultural invasion, and there was a clip that went viral on social media. Well, could you explain what exactly you meant by that and in what context were you saying it?
Well, first of all, my unequivocal condemnation of the terror act that took place, a gruesome act of terror that took place in Pahalgam and took away the precious lives of our fellow citizens. My heart goes out to the families, those who laid their lives in this act of terrorism. The question that you asked, that I had a podcast with someone some 4 months ago,
Hmm.
and we were talking about the uh, effects and the aftermath of 370 and the politics and economy of Jammu and Kashmir, and in that we were discussing the rise in alcohol consumption in Valley, which was unprecedented, and open consumption of alcohol on the streets of Valley, on tourist spots, and how the people, some set of people, and I use this word, how a set of people deliberately do some acts which are, vulgar, which are not good for a society. Not even only in Kashmir. I said in that podcast that that's unacceptable even in Delhi, Bihar, UP, those kind of behaviors, and that kind of thing being made norm, open alcohol consumption, and then alcohol-related abuses that were taking rise in the valley. And we had a video where alcohol was consumed deliberately in front of a mosque, and then a video was made which was circulated in to celebrate some kind of an achievement that we have consumed alcohol in front of a mosque in Valley. So I was talking in that backdrop, in that context, and I said a set of people, you can go through that podcast, among these tourists, they send a set of people deliberately to create these kind of activities which are unacceptable in the society, be it in Kashmir or UP. And I see that as an act of cultural invasion. And I would never know that some fringe element or the right wing would, use that phrase to find some scapegoat as they have a habit of whenever these kind of incidents do take place, where instead of asking the government of the day the question, they find scapegoats to divert these issues to, and to hide the failure of the government. And that's the context I was speaking in. That was long ago, 4 months ago.
Right.
I can quote Mr. Stalin in 2003, uh, from who's a very well-known politician, a dignified politician, chief minister, comes from a very important state. He said that imposition of Hindi is not only tampering with the federalism, but is the worst form of cultural invasion by North upon the South in Tamil Nadu. So he said whatever is happening in Tamil Nadu is worst form of cultural invasion. So he saw cultural invasion in imposing Hindi in his, state land or homeland. I, I could feel my people in Jammu and Kashmir, across the faith, be it Muslims or Pandits or whosoever, open consumption of alcoholism, semi-nudity on the streets, uh, have consuming alcohol in front of mosque and then celebrating that. I equally saw that. We equally saw that some kind of tampering with the culture, and culture invasion, which had some design. So that was the context I explained to you. I talked about, and they want to pick up that one line
Right.
out of context, trim that, and use for their benefit.
You must have seen why I asked this is because senior BJP leader and IT cell chief Amit Malviya shared that particular clip, and so how do you look at it? BJP trying to make an issue out of it, as you are pointing out that this was said in a certain context.
Absolutely, and they have this habit of it. It's in their DNA. It's in the it's the way they function. The IT cell is particularly given a job to create a false image of Modi's government, and to hide the failures, and to find excuses to divert attention when things like these do happen in country. But in terms of security failures, economic failures, developmental failures, they always find, scapegoats in Rahul Gandhi, opposition leaders, Muslims, and Riya Chakravarti is one such example. I mean, who was made a scapegoat of, of sorts, and which was, celebrated for months together on quote unquote national television. And ultimately, that was behind that was politics, and how she was made a scapegoat, and how other political leaders who belong from opposition and people from other community are made scapegoat. That's their modus operandi to hide. This comes from the handbook of Hitler's regime, how to divert the things, and to present a macho image of their leader, and on the other side how to tarnish the image of the opposition voices, or opinions.
Right. You know, what has come under obviously severe criticism is the fact that these terrorists apparently identified the victims through their religion and then killed them. How do you see that? What repercussions, we can see of that?
Repercussions on human level are great. If you come to the valley today, I have never seen this kind of an atmosphere in Kashmir. We have been through, very hard times for the last 3 decades, more than 3 decades. We have seen killings, but this kind of effect on the psyche, the general psyche of the people, is unprecedented. They are at the same time they are lost, they are grieved. I mean, and at the same time they feel humiliated for no wrongdoings of them, no mistake of them, no fault of them. They are feel it's a collective, collection of multiple emotions that the people feel. At the same time, the tourists, those who came here, the heart goes out for them, and we have never seen. This is unprecedented that the people would hear about people being lined up, and then identities being asked and killed in front of their family. And this is some kind of an unheard of thing that Kashmiris would never imagine. So this has put a great pain in the hearts of the people. I wouldn't want to go into the economy of it. So people would talk about the effect on tourism and things like that. If you go around and ask the people of Kashmir, they will be hardly bothered about the effects of it on tourism. They are, more into the human angle. It's again, I would say, unprecedented. You see an organic response on the streets of Valley. People came out in protest against this act, which
Right.
was never heard of. From the mosques, from the streets, and shops were, businesses were shut, schools were shut. Mosques called for the protest. People organized protests against it organically without anyone organizing it. So it's unprecedented, and that's how you can measure how the people in Kashmir feel about it.
Right. You know, as you also pointed out, and it is first time in Srinagar, in Kashmir, Pahalgam, that Kashmiris, sort of came out on the streets and they protested the massacre. How Kashmiris are angry, the kind of outpouring of intense anger against the terrorists we have not seen in the past. So, do you think it can be a turning point in the sense that, as you also said, that earlier this was not the case, given that separatists now won't find any sympathizers?
It could be, but it depends on the behavior of the nation to vis-a-vis Kashmir from now onwards. See, again, I would quote the same quote unquote mainstream media, which has, unfortunately, again, made use of this incident to turn Kashmiris, to dehumanize Kashmiris, to turn
Right.
Kashmiris into something, some villains or collective terrorists. And they are polarizing the society of Kashmir. If you have, followed whatever is happening on quote unquote mainstream media, and the BJP party itself, and their social media handles, social media team, the leaders of BJP right wing, how they have been creating the narrative around this act is something which is dangerous in terms of what comes from Kashmir from now onwards. Kashmiris have spoken for themselves, as someone rightly said in today to me, that there are two kinds of people who identify with Islam. It's for you, for the entire nation, to choose which kind of Muslim do you, identify with, or do you, accept. One is the ones who came, the animals who came and killed these innocent people. They, I mean, identify themselves. The killers identify themselves as quote unquote Muslims. One is that kind of Muslim. The other kind of Muslim is at the same time Adil Shah, I would call Shahid Adil Shah, who stood up against the same gun and who stood up for the innocents and gave his life in the process of saving them, or trying to save them. So this is also a Muslim. The other side is also, claiming to be Muslim. For now, it's for the nation to, decide what kind of Muslim do you choose and stand for. Do you identify all of us collectively for your own, benefit, with the other side, which is animal in nature, has nothing to do with the faith, but uses the name of the faith for his benefit? Or you, identify and take the side of the Muslim who gave his life for the innocents in defense of the Muslims. So this explains the entire situation. Kashmiris have spoken, not only Adil Shah, he is the image of bravery and the true spirit of Islam, but collectively Kashmiris came on streets, came on roads, rejected this idea, this, act of terror, this inhuman act. Now it's for the entire nation. Do you embrace Adil Shah and his Islam? Do you embrace these Kashmiris and that Islam? Or do you villainize them, dehumanize them? And that will shape the course to which direction this place called Kashmir will go from this onward. And I would add some 30 minutes to it. At the same time, when they drag my name, quoting some 4 months ago out of context, a phrase, without realizing that I am a person whose father was killed by the militants. The same terrorism has consumed the life of my father. For their own benefit, conveniently forget that sacrifice and conveniently brush me as a terrorist for their own benefit and shape the narrative. And in that shaping the narrative for their own political agenda and political benefits, they disregard and humiliate these sacrifices, which are untold, which are not told. I am a Muslim. My father was killed by the same terrorism for an ideology you and I stand for. Adil Shah come from the Islam at the same time. These Kashmiris who stood against this act of terrorism come from Islam. These values that we derive come from Islam. So it's for you to, choose what kind of Muslim do you embrace. Do you embrace this kind of Islam, all of us who are sacrificing, or for your own benefit, political benefit? Do you humanize and us entirely on the basis of those exceptions, those fringe elements which are unacceptable within Islam itself?
Right. You raise an important point because just a few days back there was a statement that came from the Vishwa Hindu Parishad, and they clearly said that this incident, this massacre shows that terror has a religion. So how do you see that within the entire setup you have one section which is talking like that, there are others like you talking about the fact that there is a need to embrace people who also gave up their lives.
My response to him and his ilks would be, if that be the case, then by his standards, every Hindu is a terrorist, because a personnel from RPF, Railway Police Force, some months ago in Rajasthan, in the same manner, identified a couple of innocents as Muslims and killed them for being Muslims. He rounded up some innocents from within the train and asked for their religious identity, and specifically killed Muslims for being Muslims. So did we paint entire, Hindu population as terrorists? Then do we say that terrorism, has a religion, and that is Hinduism? No, that's not the case. That mad guy was a fringe. He does not represent Hinduism. He does not represent Hindu people. He was a mad fringe. In the same manner, these fringe elements are mad element of the society. Unfortunately, within Muslim societies, as there are people in Hindu society, but you cannot wish away the fact on this. At the same time, there are Muslims fighting against this, who are giving their blood, fighting against this ideology. And Syed Adil Shah is one fresh example. I give my example, my father's example. There are thousands of such examples. thousands. And let me remind you, only few months ago, there was a terror attack on a tunnel, a construction site, on a tunnel in Sonmarg. And who were killed there? They were all Muslims, local Kashmiri Muslims who were working for a national cause. They were rounded up and killed in the same manner. So, what answer? I mean, and do Kashmiri lives and the Muslim lives not matter? If people in a train in Rajasthan are rounded up for being and identified as Muslims and killed deliberately for being Muslims, that does not matter. The response of the nation will be different at that time. If people are killed on a construction site in Sonmarg by the same terrorism, and those who were killed were Muslims, and the nation will conveniently wish away the fact that the victims were Muslims, and they will not give the importance to the lives lost in that act of terrorism. And conveniently, once an incident of same nature happens, and these animals try to, this time, choose different modus operandi to, further their cause, choose Hindu identity. And at this time, VHP and RSS will conveniently pick religion in this. They should have picked religion in that train also, the incident that happened when Muslims were killed for being Muslims by that RPF personnel. They should have picked religion when Muslims were killed recently in Sonmarg for working on a construction site for the nation's cause. So it's convenient right-wing ideology to brush minorities and Muslims in particular as some villains and dehumanize them, turn them into second-class citizens, and further their agenda that you know. But I'm glad that it's not what India stands for, and they are not what India represents. There are much saner people, vast majority, who are sane and who believe in human values. Those are who represent India, and we see our ray of hope in them.
Right. Well, you mentioned that you would not like to talk about the tourism aspect, but what could be the impact of this massacre in terms of long term? So, if tourism won't recover anytime soon, how do you draw tourists back to the valley in terms of the healing that's required, not only in terms of the revenue that it will generate?
Two impacts. One is that the beneficiary of this, terror attack is the right wing on this side also. The attackers are from the right wing of this side, and the beneficiaries in terms of creating narrative and, cries around it that you are hearing about. That will further their communal agenda. This will fuel the communal agenda of the right wing in India. This will, further, weaken the social fabric of this already weakened social fabric of this country. One is that we need to be careful about. The other is the tourism that you said. See, I have been saying since the abrogation of Article 370, and if you go back to my interviews and my speeches, I have been saying that it's very dangerous to equate tourism with political achievements in Valley. We have seen tourism going up and down in the past as well. In the last 3 decades, when tourism vanished, we saw the cycles when, with the efforts of the government and with the situation getting better, tourists coming back. I remember once Umar Abdullah was chief minister in his first term. We had tourists in numbers who came to Kashmir, but at the same time we had incidents of terrorism of same sort when attacks were carried out on terrorism, because we equated tourism as a marker of the situation getting better, political situation. Therefore, it provides a target for these elements, the terrorists. To defeat that sense of achievement, they become easy target for the terrorists, because if you want to make a political score out of tourism, they will also want to create a political score out of tourism, as they have tried to do this. So it has been very dangerous. I have said, because BJP celebrated the influx of terrorism as some kind of achievement, I have said that this is not a permanent thing, and please do not drag tourism into it. We have seen a rise, we have seen decline in tourism in the past. This is of the same nature. And we gave some suggestions in these terms, and which were taken as threats, unfortunately, which were, I mean, misquoted as threats, that they are threatening and this is politics being played out. No, we know the society because we have seen this in past. Now again, that mistake has been done, and we have paid for the cost. Paid the cost for that. It will take a lot for us to, a lot of efforts on all sides, from the people of Jammu and Kashmir to generate that confidence from the people of the rest of nation, to create the zeal to stand with the people of Kashmir and defeat these ideas and those who are behind this act of terrorism. Ultimately, they would want us to be, affected on two levels. One is economic level, and the other is the political and human level. So, if the people stay away, that's a victory for the terrorists. If the people of the rest of India stay away, there's the victory for the terrorists. So it's for you to, decide what kind of, role do you want to play. We didn't stay away from Taj after
26/11.
Taj was overbooked after the incident of
26/11.
and people stood with the victims, and that's how I should expect. That's what I expect. How the nation should behave in the aftermath of this.
And
Incident.
as the Srinagar, MP, considering that also depends heavily on tourism, what do you intend to do about it? Anything that you have planned?
See, as I said, it's not the immediate concern. The human, aspect, human angle of this incident
Right.
is so huge that economy can take a backseat for a moment. But ultimately, we'll have to think about that. We will have to meet the people in rest of nation, with the people in the states, different states, with the governments of the different states, and request them that they should behave in the manner as I suggested. The way we responded against the attack in Mumbai,
26/11.
we didn't abandon Mumbai after
26/11.
and you don't abandon Kashmir after this terror attack, especially when the people have stood against this act of terror. And this is an opportunity to embrace the people of Kashmir on human level, and this opens a great opportunity for us to bridge that gap, which unfortunately last many decades have created, and especially this BJP regime has created between the people of Jammu and Kashmir and the rest of the nation. This gives us an opportunity to bridge that gap. The rest of the people living in other states of the nation, we should react exactly the way we reacted for Mumbai after
26/11.
Right. You must have seen the Pakistan Army Chief, General Asim Munir, had sort of reignited the debate about the two-nation theory, and he talked about how Pakistanis are fundamentally different from Hindus in religion, culture, tradition, thoughts, and then we saw this attack. So does it look like the handiwork of the state actors there?
We, the people of Jammu and Kashmir, ironically, are the ones who are suffering who continue to suffer because of this two-nation theory. And we are the ones, from the Muslim lot, who rejected the two-nation theory, along with the people who chose India, the Muslims who chose India. And we rejected this two-nation theory. We do not, believe in the idea that if we are from two different faiths, that means that we cannot live collectively. We come from the idea that despite the faith, despite the differences in religion, we have traditions to share, we have culture to share, we have language to share, we have habits to share, we have a common collective and human history that we have collectively lived through. We have we have not only been against this idea, but in our effort to defeat this idea, we have sacrificed for this, and we have been the first victims of this ideology. Yes, Pakistan has been doing this for the last three decades or more, and it continues to do that. And it needs to be, the way the chronology goes, he gave a speech and then this incident took place. It needs to be, examined properly and then dealt with the way we expect this nation to deal with them.
Right. The US President Donald Trump obviously recently said that India and Pakistan have been fighting over Kashmir for 1,000 years, and tensions on the border have been going on for 1,500 years. I know technically he's not right about the years, but how do you see his reaction?
Honestly, I don't take him seriously. As his reaction is as much serious as his sentence. I mean, 1,500 years old. I mean that, which means he's not well aware of the situation. But he represents a nation which is very important in terms of geopolitics. I I hope that this brings, or this invites the attention of the global fraternity of democracy, global democracy towards this incident, and understand what the people of Kashmir in particular are suffering through, and what the people of India are going through, and help us, find some resolution of this issue.
Right. I've asked you a lot about this incident particularly, but I also want to know how challenging is life as a politician in the valley.
Oh, it's a good question. It needs an hour to explain.
I'm
It's very
sure.
different. It's very difficult, very difficult. You live on the edge of a sword, being a politician in Kashmir. You have to represent the aspirations of your people, and the same aspiration is, termed as anti-national sentiment in the rest of the nation, unfortunately. So it's a line, a thin line, which one has to tread very carefully, and one has to be very, committed and strong in doing this job, because we have given blood, we have lost lives. Not only my father, you have many examples of many politicians who were killed. And killed because they stood for an idea. It's not being like a normal politician in the rest of India. It's living life on edge. One statement can cost your life. One statement, one simple statement can cost your life, and any side can find a reason to eliminate you any day. So that's the life of a politician, and especially when you are committed to the people. If it is someone who tries to navigate through this and find some cozy, position, and then bend this way and that way to his or her convenience, they can manage. But if you do a politics of principles, conviction, values, then it's a thin line. It's edge of the sword, and as I said, one statement can get you killed.
Why I also asked this is because, especially after the abrogation of Article 370, people were blaming traditional parties for it. So, the the politicians received a lot of flack.
People, you mean from people of Jammu and
Kashmir,
Kashmir?
yes.
Exactly. So, despite they having nothing to do with this, uh, people of Jammu and Kashmir, feel that it's because of the politicians, and I understand there has been a mistrust between the people of Kashmir and the politicians in general, and I believe that that gap needs to be filled, that trust needs to be earned by the political executive. They have to be Political executive have to be, true to their principles, true to their value and ideology. They cannot abandon the cause of the people of Jammu and Kashmir and the aspiration of the people of Jammu and Kashmir for their chair and position. There are, questions that people of Jammu and Kashmir raise, where they point out that this is where you, compromised on your ideology and your values. That's why we do not trust you. And at the same time, you can see how the rest of the nation, especially the BJP regime, treated the politicians of Jammu and Kashmir, calling them, anti-nationals, calling them Gaddar and whatnot, corrupt and whatnot. They were put in jail. Those who fought against the militancy, terrorism for the last 30 years were put in jails and dehumanized to certain level. So this is the life of the people, politician. But as I said, one needs to earn that trust. There is a gap between the people and the political executive in Jammu and Kashmir, and for genuine reasons, I do not shy away from saying this for genuine reasons. It's for the politicians to stand for the principles, values, and the aspirations of the people of Jammu and Kashmir.
Right. I don't know if you saw it or not, but Mr. Asaduddin Owaisi of AIMIM, he used very strong language for the terrorists. He called them dogs. He called them a number of other things, which I don't want to say them here. But many are saying that, he has emerged as a powerful voice of the Muslims, and he has taken a stand, in the backdrop of the Pahalgam attack. How do you look at that, and how do you respond to that?
Well, I don't mind if he's doing something he feels he should do. I don't mind, and everybody is angry. Vocabulary can be different, the expression can be different, but everybody is angry. They speak with their words. The people in the rest of the nation speak with their words. We speak with our blood. We give our lives. We don't use vocabulary. We use lives in our fight against terrorism. So the expression can be different, but we are all are angry. And if he wants to take this, responsibility of expressing what Muslims feel throughout India, I don't mind that. And at the same time, I would remind the people in general that one more casualty that has happened as an aftermath of this incident is the sentiment of the Muslims in India around Waqf Act, and they have been told to turn silent, to be silent, not to speak about it. So Muslims in the rest of India, like the people of Jammu and Kashmir, are in a bad corner. Very tricky corner. Their right, their constitutional right, is snatched from them, or is there's encroachment upon the freedom of religion or freedom of practice of religion on the Muslims. But as a result of this incident, they have been pushed into a corner where they have been told to remain silent. So we all need to find some expression out of this dark room or dark times, when we at the same time, while we mourn for the deaths of these innocents and stand against terrorism, we also stand for the constitutional rights of minorities or the fellow citizens of India. And the response of the government, I don't know if you have heard about it, is the response of the government to the Supreme Court today or yesterday is that Supreme Court cannot direct the government what we should do and what we should not do. So this is how the government behaves. The constitution is being tampered with, and the constitutionality of this nation is being tampered with. So it's a very sensitive time, fragile time. This reminded me of the state of the Muslims, the minorities in India today.
There have been a few incidents of Kashmiri students also being attacked and targeted. Of course, the government has issued directions to all the states that special precautions should be taken.
As I said in the beginning, it's for the people in the rest of India to take a side and decide which side do they want to take, and what do they do with this opportunity, the opportunity that the people of Jammu and Kashmir have presented with. People of Jammu and Kashmir, like anyone in rest of India, came out against this terrorism. It came out in anger. Syed Adil Shah gave his life. So it's for you to decide what kind of Kashmiri do you embrace. If you attack the students, Kashmiri students in the rest of India, you defeat Syed Adil Shah. You defeat those Kashmiris who were on the streets yesterday, who stood against the terrorism in Jamia Masjid today or yesterday. So it's for you. Whether you stand with those terrorists or the objectives of those terrorists, the achievements that they wanted to achieve, then go and attack the Kashmiri students wherever you want. If you want to defeat those terrorists, embrace Syed Adil Shah and those students living in the rest of India, studying in the rest of India. Embrace these Kashmiris who were on the streets yesterday and today, who are grieving, who are mourning this incident. So it's very dangerous if the Kashmiri students are attacked. You are then, isolating them and serving the purpose of the terrorists that they wanted to achieve, and isolate Kashmiris and Muslims in general from the rest of the population.
Just a last few questions, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but you have been a strong supporter of prohibition in the region. If that is the case, how will tourists come? because that is how it is in the rest of the country, I mean, barring a few states. So what exactly do you...
I missed the first part of your question because
Sorry, I said that, correct me if I'm wrong, but you have been a strong supporter of prohibition in the region, Jammu and Kashmir. So how will this sort of, go hand in hand with tourism? Because if you see the rest of the country also, barring a few states where prohibition is in place, I mean,
prohibition
tourists...
of alcohol, you mean?
Yeah. Sorry, I meant prohibition of alcohol. Yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, alcohol tourism is not the only tourism in the world. I mean, tourists do not travel for consumption of alcohol, and there are families who come to Kashmir. I mean, I don't expect that families come for alcohol consumption in Kashmir. And as I said in that podcast, which was misquoted, and I have said, we have seen tourism in the past as well. And those tourists, I mean, would come and consume alcohol, and we had no problem with that because they would respect the sentiment and sensitivity of the society, and they would consume that alcohol in a confined and atmosphere inside their hotel rooms, inside the bars of certain hotels. There were, I mean, certain places, confined places, where they would go and consume alcohol. Kashmiris never pointed out towards that. I mean, they were never agitated by that. Okay, it's if their religion allows them to consume alcohol, we do not have a problem with that. And they would come and consume alcohol in the hotel rooms, and we had no problem with that. The problem that we have with with the consumption of alcohol is the open consumption of alcohol on streets, in public places. I mean, absolutely. So that's what was happening, and that's what we didn't want to happen. I mean, any place wouldn't want that to happen. And there's a law in place which was not, I mean, being given respect to. Law enforcing agencies wouldn't do anything. There's a law in place in Jammu and Kashmir that you cannot consume public alcohol in public places. Police would do nothing for that. That's why we saw that this thing should be stopped, and we talked about that. And if tourists come and consume in their own confined atmosphere what they want to do, we do not have a problem with that. In the same manner, I wouldn't go to a place where religion does not allow beef eating. I will not go against the sensitivity of that place and eat beef, and that too openly. I will not go eating beef on the streets. I will respect the sensitivity of that place. And we in Jammu and Kashmir, generally we have, I mean, most of us do not eat beef, and it's in our behavior, because we had this kind of respect. Not that it's not permissible for us. It is permissible for us, but it's not that obligatory that we have to eat that. And in our urge to eat that, we heard the sentiments of the other religion. We respected the sentiments of the other religion. So I will not go on the streets of Delhi. I will not go on the streets of Ayodhya. I will not go outside Ram Mandir and eat beef openly. That will not be tolerated, and I will never, I mean, think of doing that. And that's what we mean when we talk about prohibition. If tourists come, what they do in their rooms, we have nothing to do with that. But if it is consumed publicly in public places, that's unacceptable anywhere. It's not, I mean, particular to Kashmir.
Right. I know this question has been asked several times, but for our viewers, what is your problem with your party leadership? We saw you demonstrating outside, Chief Minister Omar Abdullah's residence over the reservation policy.
Well, it's not the time to speak about that. It's not the time to speak about differences. We need to stand united against this terrorism, and stand united in our resolve to fight this terrorism. But to, I mean, give a one-line answer to your question, since you have asked this, my differences, if they, I mean, appear at times, is when I feel that the aspiration of people is not addressed, and I always feel that there should be an urgency in addressing the aspiration of the people of Jammu and Kashmir, or people you represent, and we need to stand true to our mandate and the sentiment that we represented in the elections. We need to stand true, remain true to that sentiment. We cannot betray that sentiment. We cannot betray that, I mean, mandate that we got and the confidence that we created. It was a very hard task to create that sense of trust between the people and this organization, which is a mainstream political party. It was a very difficult task to create that task. Any sort of betrayal towards that, confidence, that towards that trust, will be a great mistake. And I would not want to be a part of that betrayal or that mistake. That's why I at times remind when if I feel that we are going in the wrong direction, that this is not the direction we have promised our people that we will go.
Right. Well, what has changed in the past 6 years or so, post Article 370, have Kashmiris sort of reconciled to the fact that, Article 370 is no more and they have moved on? Or do you think that, this special status will ever come back? Or will it only remain on the political party's manifesto?
Well, I feel the people of Jammu and Kashmir are more committed to Article 370 and its return more than any time in the past. People are more aware of Article 370 now than before. It's not taken well by the people of Jammu and Kashmir. The recent elections, both parliament and the assembly elections, the mandate that was given by the people of Jammu and Kashmir, that the vote that was given by the people of Jammu and Kashmir in both these elections was against the application of Article 370. And I'm glad that they took a democratic expression to express their opinion and express their anger. They defeated this idea of removal of 370 in parliament election, in assembly election. They gave vote against the abrogation of Article 370. So the nation needs to respect the democratic expression, democratic opinion of the people. And as I have said in my interviews during my elections and before parliament election, that we don't lose hope in our fight to get Article 370, which is our right, restored. There will be a time when the rest of most of the states in the nation will ask for a stronger federal structure, and that will be equal to what we have been guaranteed by the Constitution, which we called Article 370, and that was vindicated by the statements coming from the South, the leaders of South, asking for more autonomy or autonomy for the southern states. So Article 370 is not gone. Autonomous status of Jammu and Kashmir is not gone permanently. It is abrogated temporarily by a regime. But I see that the entire nation is asking for a stronger federal structure. Till yesterday, it was only Jammu and Kashmir which was, openly standing, espousing for autonomy. Today, it's entire South espousing for autonomy. So I don't see any reason why it isn't coming back.
Right. You mean autonomy in the sense that in respect of Article 370?
In our respect, yes, we had it, this autonomy, we had it in 370. Today, South is asking for autonomy. What shape and what language they mean, it's for them to, explain. So, but what is common is autonomy. And let me, remind your viewers, 370 was not exclusive for Jammu and Kashmir also. Many of the components of 370 still exist in many states of India. In Himachal, you cannot go and buy a land. In many places of Northeast India, you cannot go and be a citizen of of those states and buy land there. So it was not exclusive for Jammu and Kashmir. It was abrogated from Jammu and Kashmir exclusively because for its Muslim nature. This regime has a fight with the Muslims. That's why it was abrogated from Jammu and Kashmir. It is not abrogated from Himachal. It's not abrogated, removed from the northeastern states where arrangements of similar nature still continue to be.
Right. You mentioned, the democratic way that Kashmiris took this entire, how they voted. Well, some people have been critical of the Supreme Court. They said that had it not forced elections on J&K, this massacre would not have happened. How do you see this kind of logic?
This is laughable and ironic at the same time. One doesn't understand how to respond to these things. This nation can openly now stand against democracy, and no one speaks about that. This nation can, speak against Supreme Court now for restoring democracy, and we'll say everything is normal and we are a mother of democracy. This is the state we have fallen to. Hitler would take lessons from them. And my second response is, if they mean that the restoration of democratic government in Jammu and Kashmir is the reason for these events to unfold, I would ask them to explain how, because the police and the security arrangement still continues to be with the central government. Okay, the elections were held and conducted. Okay, the popular government is in place, but that popular government does not control the police, that does not control the security grid, the security apparatus. And if this argument stands, that the government of the day is responsible for an act of terror because it has the control of over the security, then they should, blame BJP for this. Then, in every sane mind, BJP is to be blamed because BJP still controls Home Ministry, and Home Ministry still controls the police and the security of Jammu and Kashmir. So this state is ironic and laughable at the same time. As I said, Hitler would take lessons from them, and we can now brazenly speak. Speak against the restoration of democracy. And if this is what this nation wanted to come down to, fall to, this nation should have told us 70, 80 years ago that one day will not be democracy when it comes to Kashmir. We were promised democracy. That's why we are part of this country. We were not told that you will be treated as second-class citizen. You will not have equal democratic rights. We'll have two different standards when it comes to Kashmir. They should have told us 80 years ago. We were told that this nation will be ruled by one standard, and that's constitution and democracy. And that's why we are part of this nation, and that's why we have sacrificed our lives for this nation. We have sacrificed lives for democracy, for the constitution of this country, and secularism, values of plural and collective existence.
Right. We saw the Pahalgam massacre, the terror attack. But if we see Jammu and Kashmir post Article 370, well, many point out that there has been a long period of peace, and incident of violence and terror incidents have in fact come down. There has been much improvement, and at the same time, they say there is a yearning for development on ground. So, how is Kashmir changing now?
Well, Kashmir, like any other place, deserves development and asks for development. But that doesn't take away the fact that it is a political issue at the same time which needs to be addressed. We have seen terrorism, militancy, what you would want to call that, go up and down in the last 30, 35 years. And this is not unprecedented that we had some years of calm. We in 2000s had years of calm. Then suddenly one incident of 2008 happened and everything erupted. And that's what we have been warning for the last 4-5 years. What are you celebrating? What is this forced peace? Why are you trying to fool the nation? We know the society. We have been through the situation like this. We have suffered. We know that the forced calm is not the permanent peace, and this is not a peace which is achieved. This is a calm which is being imposed. And one incident, unfortunate incident, can turn things around. And that's what happened, unfortunately. And we are abused at that time when we speak of the truth, of the ground realities, of how the things work in a conflict situation. We are abused at the time. We are called anti-nationals. Who is to answer today? Those who celebrated, okay, if BJP celebrated a few years of calm as their achievement, they should take this incident as their failure and resign immediately.
Right. My last question to you. Many point out that Chief Minister Omar Abdullah is hopeful that statehood will be restored, and they say that could be one of the reasons he's trying to have cordial relations with the center, unlike, let's say, Arvind Kejriwal in Delhi. Do you think this kind of rapport will help Jammu Kashmir get statehood?
Well, I don't think so, and that's one of the disagreements that I have with my party, and I have a right to have disagreements. some people in our party feel that the statehood is coming, and to have a rapport that you talked about will help that, position. I don't see it coming. I don't see it in the, grand scheme of things of BJP. In their policy, there's disempowerment of Muslims. There's disempowerment of Kashmiri Muslims in particular. There's no place for empowerment of Muslims and Kashmiri Muslims in particular. Returning of statehood means some kind of empowerment, and that does not fit into the scheme of things for BJP. And especially when they lost the elections in Kashmir, they were defeated badly by the people of Kashmir. Why will they give away the control that they have? They still control the police, security, and many other departments of functionings of this place of Jammu and Kashmir. Why will they give away when they lost the elections to a government which they lost to a party which they lost to? And they will humiliate you. And I have expressed this to Umar Abdullah. They will try to humiliate you. They will try to discredit you. And I don't see it coming. If it is coming, it's coming with taking your people along to struggle for it, to strive for it. And in that course, if it does not come, you at least are on the side of your people. You are fighting along the people, with the people on your side. And it will be a collective fight, and it will be a collective failure. If today you lose in this manner, it will be, unfortunately, your loss, a humiliation that BJP would want to impose upon you. If you take your people along and fight for it, if we lose in the cause, that will be a collective loss, and you will not be, alienated from the people of Jammu and Kashmir. That's my take on it. I don't see BJP giving statehood back to Jammu and Kashmir anytime soon.
But what has been his response, Mr. Abdullah's response to yours?
Well, I wouldn't say what we talked privately, and it's a conversation that happened long time ago. But the response was that let's give it the response in general is that let's wait for it and give it a try. We can wait for some months, and I agree. I don't. I don't want to. Be a.
There's no harm in trying.
There's no harm in trying. Yes.
Right. Well, thank you so much, Mr. Mehdi, for your time and for taking out time, especially considering you must be so busy in Srinagar right now. But thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me.